Are we exposed? This is what every security team is wondering. But with vulnerabilities scattered across network, cloud, AI, and OT silos, the truth is out of reach, and attackers know it. There's a better way. Unify to defy risk with Tenable AI-powered exposure management. Tenable brings together all your security data and exposures in one unified view, giving you the attacker's map and revealing the critical paths and weaknesses they can exploit. Now your teams can prioritize intelligently, move decisively, and collaborate without friction. Tenable turns scattered work into a single proactive force. Instead of chasing noise, your team knows where to focus, gaining clarity, control, and speed to reduce cyber risk with confidence. Learn more at Tenable.com. Tenable, your exposure ends here.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
Some things never cease to amaze me. Sunrises, hitting a golf ball straight, and the overwhelming ignorance of the common person. Here's a thought. Use Form Bs to determine classification. This, in fact, is competitive balance. Season 8 of Sun Coaches Podcast, where not everyone is funny or tells funny stories, but everyone has a story. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 8, and today I'm excited to be joined by the head football coach at Calhoun High School, Coach Clay Stephenson. Thanks for being on with me.
Hey, thank you, and I'm not excited as I am. I'm pumped to be on here. I appreciate all the stuff you do. I don't know if you realize how much you're doing for high school sports and high school coaches, but we definitely appreciate it. So, pleasure's all mine. Looking forward to it.
Well, when you're not a good coach like me, you have to find a niche, and this is it. So I enjoy getting you guys on, letting y'all tell y'all stories and sharing with everybody, and hopefully people gain something from every episode, and they pick up on that we're all we might not be in the same kind of boat, but we're all pretty much going down the same river in this thing. So
yeah, no doubt. It's awesome to hear everybody's story because, everybody has a different story of how they got to where they are, and it's cool that you pull it out of everybody and put it out there. So we appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Coach. And I know that you're a coach's kid.
That's right.
So your dad was a coach, and you got to live the life of a coach's kid. So did y'all move around a lot, or did you stay in one place particularly? What was growing up like as a coach's kid?
Yeah, we didn't. So my dad was a coach at several places before I was born. He was in Commerce and Monroe area. I was actually born when he was the head coach at Charlton County. So I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know if you know much about Folkestone. I'm sure you do, but no hospital around. So they had to go down to Jacksonville where I was born. And when I was born, 81, they moved to Thomaston, Georgia, where he was the head coach at Upson County. So that was where I grew up. They were there for 18 years. So I grew up. My whole life was there. And he transitioned from, it was Upson County, consolidated with Upson Lee. He became the AD for my whole childhood career. So it was there's nothing like being a coach's kid. I got to do it in one spot. I know a lot of people get to or have to move around, but it was neat just watching him and growing up around the sport, and it was kind of nothing else that I would rather do, and I can't thank him enough for introducing me to that. My dad was the first of had 9 siblings. He was the first one to get an education, and the impact that had on his little brothers and sisters, and now my cousins. We've got 15 or 20 educators and coaches that we wouldn't have if he wouldn't have made that decision to kind of change his the path of his family. So can't thank my dad enough for sure.
That's awesome. So what all did you play in high school?
I played in high school. I played football and golf. Kind of an odd combination, but that's what my dad did, and he's a really, really good golfer. So getting to get out there with him, and he had a couple of coaches that worked with him that were really good golfers as well, that have really shaped where I am as a coach and as a person. His dad, Cleve Hendricks, who's down in Lamar County right now. He's been several places. He's getting ready to, I think he's officially retired. And then Brad Brown, who jumped around. He ended up in Hall County where he retired. But they coached with Daddy, and they were great golfers and great football coaches and great husbands and great men. So getting to grow up around those guys just kind of pushed me into obviously wanting to coach football, but having a love for golf as well.
Well, what position did you play in football in high school?
Played wide receiver. Wide receiver in a wing tee offense, so you know how that goes. We get a few passes out there, try to take advantage of as what we could, but it was a good time. Coach Lamb, I don't know who I call the real Coach Lamb when I'm on the podcast with you, but Coach Hal Lamb was my coach in high school, and so kind of getting to watch my dad coach growing up, and then getting to play for Coach Lamb was like I said, there's nothing else I would rather do, and then getting to learn from both those guys, set me up for a good future in coaching.
Well, technically, Coach Ray Lamb is the real Coach Lamb.
There is no doubt. He is the real Coach. That's how we refer to him in our family. Or the Calhoun and the Commerce connection, people will refer to him as the real Coach Lamb, and then we got the other guys. But you're definitely right.
Yeah, we actually found out one time at the clinic that it was the GACA clinic. It was like 04 maybe. And he was up there helping check people in or whatever, and they gave me my badge. So every time he saw me the rest of the time, he's like, "Hey, there's Coach Lamb." And I'm like, No, you're Coach Lamb. And then we got to talking, and come to find out, him and my grandfather were cousins.
Oh, really?
So we're like fifth cousins or something. I'm distantly related, but
you're in the fam.
I'm in the fam. We don't see each other at family reunions because we're so far apart as far as.
But it's on the tree somewhere.
I'm in the bush part of the tree, in the dead limb area.
There you go.
But that's cool. So you got to grow up playing for Coach Hal Lamb, one of the best human beings to ever do it, one of the best men in the business, and a good golfer too. And
yeah.
And so did you get an opportunity to go play college ball?
So I played college golf at Shorter up here in Rome. It got to do it for 2 years, and then my major was changing. They didn't have I taught special ed for 15 years and wanted to major in that, and they didn't have it there, so took my
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Victory Lane? Yeah, it's even better with Chumba by my side. Race to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
2 years of playing golf at Shore, and then transferred to UGA and got my special ed degree there, and finished up, and was able to jump right over here. Coach Lamb so he was my head coach at Upson Lee down in Thomaston for my junior and senior year, and he took a job up in Calhoun. We knew nothing about it, or I knew nothing about it. And Brad Brown, who I talked about earlier, was the principal up here. So went to Georgia, finished out my special ed degree, and was lucky and blessed enough to that Coach Lamb and Coach Brown hired me up here at Calhoun.
Yeah, I ask people all the time when talk about how did you get into coaching, or did you know you always wanted to be a coach? And you saying that you wanted to major in special ed, you must have always knew that you wanted to teach and maybe coach one day.
Yeah, so the way I kind of describe it to people is teaching special ed was my calling, I guess you'd say, but coaching football was my passion. And I feel like you got to have a little bit of both of those in your life. And so I was able to teach special ed for, like I said, 15 years up here at Calhoun. And then, obviously my passion is coaching and coaching football specifically. And I was able to stick around, and it worked out where when Coach Lamb retired, I was able to get the head coaching job, and I've been here for 23 years and head coach for 7. So it was definitely a good decision for me to kind of to follow Coach Lamb when he got up here, and he's done great things for me and my family, and it's been there aren't too many people that get to say that they've been at the same place for 23 years, especially not you. I think you might have been to 23 different places in your career, but
that sounds like that's close. It's close.
That's close. That's right. I've been blessed to get up here, and I love it, and it's been a blessing for sure.
It wasn't for lack of effort. I mean, I tell people this all the time. When I decided I wanted to teach and coach, our next door neighbors were both coaches, the husband and wife, and Coach Jim Connor he ended up being the head coach at Evans eventually, but he coached offensive line, and his wife Gail, she coached tennis, and probably over the years she coached girls basketball too, and I'm sure, and they were athletic, and I saw that coaching staff together their whole time, like they spent time together, and their kids were raised together, and I just thought that was the way it was going to be. And then when I got into it and realized that you're really fortunate if that's the way it happens.
Yes, and it doesn't happen much, and it's I can't say that I didn't get the itch to jump out and move on, but Calhoun is such a special place with from administration all the way down to teachers and parents and players that I never could quite pull the trigger. It would have been a you talk about lateral moves, and I don't feel like there was ever even a lateral move that I could have made that would have made sense for my coaching career. So just stuck it out and stayed loyal to where I was, and like I said, just love the place. And Calhoun's changed as everything has, but I've been lucky enough to kind of see it through, good, bad, ugly, and get to where we are now. So it's been awesome. It seems like doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it's been an awesome few years.
So take us back to what was your first job at Calhoun? What was your first coaching responsibility there?
It's my first job. So I got hired. He called me. I'll never forget. I was playing golf in Commerce, and Coach Lamb, it might have been Coach Brad, called and said that I had a special ed job. Didn't have a football job yet, but I could do middle school and high school golf. So I said, I'm in. And within a week or two, the receiver coach that was up here got out of it or got a different job in the system, and so it opened up the football job for me, because that's obviously what I wanted to do. Golf was just kind of an extra. So I was teaching special ed and coaching wide receivers, and like I said, that's what I did for 15 years. Coached wide receivers for Coach Lamb, and Michael Davis was our offensive coordinator. So I learned everything I know about offense from those two guys, and it's been a good 23 years for sure.
So after 15 years at wide receiver, what did you transition to after that?
So that was just when I jumped straight into a head coach, because Coach Davis was our Well, the offensive coordinator, Coach Lamb's our head coach, and like I said, can't say enough about those guys and how they modeled what it was like to be a good coach. Number one, they're two of the best in the business. But what people don't know outside of the people that know them is how good of husbands and dads they are, and so learning from the guys I talked about earlier with my dad's staff, and then jumping into that was a blessing. And I've tried to carry on what my dad did and what Coach Lamb, Coach Davis, and other coaches that I grew up with have modeled, and hopefully we're keeping it moving in the right direction.
That's such an interesting way to go from position coach to head coach. With these days, so many young coaches think that they immediately have to be a coordinator, and I gotta be a coordinator, and I'll be a position coach for a year, but I want to be a coordinator, and that's the only path to ultimately becoming a head coach. And I mean, what do you? I mean, obviously you can point at your career and go, well, no, you could just stay and work hard and work your way, into the system and work your way up and have a plan. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, it kind of all goes back to loyalty. And I think that's the big key, regardless of where you are or what your role is, you got to be loyal to what you're doing in the moment. And like you said, so many times now.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Game night's fun until someone spends 5 minutes lining up one shot. Chalk, breathe, re-chalk, still aiming. While they figure it out, I fire up Chumba Casino. I can spin anywhere, anytime, and there's always a new social casino game every week. Spins happen way faster than that shot. Play now at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And there are a variety of reasons. We could talk about this in a whole nother episode, but a variety of reasons of why I feel like young coaches now want to just jump to the top. And in the old days, it was, and with coaching as well, with the players, it was, you do what you're told, and until somebody tells you to do something different. And now, with the evolution of podcasts and all this stuff out there, I feel like young guys have this sense of how they want to do it because that's what they've heard all these people talk about online and this and that, and it's not there's not as much of just, like I said, just do what you're told until you're told to do something different. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's definitely a shift, I feel like, in the last 10 years of people wanting to just jump and go and move without putting in the work on the front end. So to be able to find young coaches who are loyal and that do want to put in the work is tough, and we're lucky at Calhoun that we've got several of them that fit that bill, and I'm so proud of them for all the stuff that I just said of wanting to put in the work, wanting to learn, and not just jump the gun and move on. So I'm interested to hear your side of that as well, of how you feel like the evolution of young coaches has evolved, I guess, in the last 10 or 15 years.
Well, I think what you said is true in the way what I'm hearing is they think they can hear and see something on TV or on the internet and just listen, and they've got all the answers, they know what to do. And they hadn't chewed any dirt. And they hadn't been there and watched how a Coach Lamb handles something, how a Coach Davis handles a situation, how a David Stephenson handles a situation, how a Coach Brown, I think there's a lot to be said And I'm not saying they're not intelligent. There's way more resources out there for kids now than there were when we were coming along.
But are they true good resources?
Correct. And are they learning what they need to learn to actually take those steps? You know, I was laughing with somebody the other day when I recorded with Coach William Homskis, Lee Homskis' son. He's the OCO line coach down at Southeast Effingham. And we were laughing about, I watch people open a game and run counter off of nothing. You know, they just run counter because it looks cool.
Yeah.
And you should be able to run it against that defense. Well, yeah, if you're running it off of some, and I don't know how it works. It's kind of like in the NFL when they fake it to the fullback. They used to fake it to the fullback and then hit him in the flats. How is he not getting his face knocked off? Right. How's that guy always open? But anyway, I think they watch and they don't get the practical, hands-on experience that you need, in my opinion, to be a good head coach, because now more than ever, you're a CEO.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with a whole lot more. You're not coaching ball anymore. I mean, you might sit in there and check the game plans or whatever, but if you're doing it the way I think you have to do it to coach at a high level and be successful, you're basically running the program, and you've got a good offensive coordinator and a good defensive coordinator, and you let them do what you hired them to do, and you just manage. And I don't think that's something that they learn, is how to manage. And a lot of times the only way you can learn is by doing it.
That's most of the time the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's baptism by fire.
That's right. You hit on something that sometimes as assistant coaches, you don't need to have an opinion.
No.
You need to just roll with it and go and do and work and do it. And I feel like now, and I always go back to social media on a lot of different gripes I have with sports today, but you know, that puts opinions in your mind that you should be getting from the coaches that you're working for. Like I said, I had those coaches. Then Jim Kramer was our defensive coordinator when I first started, and I learned a lot of stuff from him and about how he went about things. And I was a very young coach, watching him work and listening to things that he had to say. And I feel like we're trying to skip that part too much now.
Sometimes you need to learn what not to do.
That's right.
Right. I mean, and sometimes as you're making your catalog of, okay, one day I'd like to be a head coach. Here's some things that are really, really good. I like this. I'm going to make sure I do that. Oh, my God, that was awful. I will make sure that I do not do that when I'm a head coach. I mean, and they're not getting that. Yeah,
I mean, I've listened to Ed Milet podcast a lot. I don't know if you know who that is, but he had Dabo Smithy on there. It's been a year or two ago, and he was talking about that same thing of, he was an assistant coach, and they came in and fired, I guess it was Bowden in the middle of the year, and he was named interim head coach for the rest of the year. And he said that he had kept a notebook of things that he would just exactly what you said, things that he would do different, things they liked, things he didn't like. But he also said that didn't affect how he was an assistant coach, because a lot of times you can have those opinions that you need to be stockpiling for that chance when you get it, but still being a good, loyal assistant coach as well. And he was able to do that. And then when he got named the interim coach, he had a whole catalog to go to of things that he was going to be able to do. So it's a fine line of learning things and obviously getting your own way of doing things, but also just it sounds awful, but following in line and kind of just learning as you go as well.
And that segues perfectly into me asking, so you take over as the head coach, what were some things you wanted to do to change? I mean, is Coach Lamb built the program into what it was, that made it great, that made you want to be there, that made people want to stay there and never leave? but you had to do something to put your own mark on it to make it Clay Stevenson's team. So
Yes,
what were some things that you did to say, all right, we're going to honor the past and the tradition, but I'm a different dude, go?
That's a great question. And there were times at first I was like, what am I doing? Let me get out of here. Let me go somewhere else. Let me find something else to do, because the expectations are so high and the bar is set so high here. And like I said earlier, it's such a special place. But I feel like what we tried to do early on was, and we had a core group of coaches that stayed over, that I worked with for a long time, and what we felt like we needed to do was the term we put on was, how can we change the program without changing the program, if that makes sense. So we were trying to think outside the box of different things that we could do that kept Calhoun football the same, but also figure out a way to think outside the box and raise the standard a little bit more. And what we tried to do was, a couple of things that Coach Lamb had started, and we kept on. We tried to reach out to alumni. We tried to reach out to the younger kids, and we call that the cultivate part of our culture. And we tried to make sure that we were doing everything we do to make sure people that had played there before knew they were welcome back and their opinion was welcome. And then we tried to make sure that we looked out for the young guys and tried to give them some more opportunities to be a part of Friday Night Lights and a part of our program. So it's definitely not easy when you get the opportunity to take over something that is so special and the expectations are so high. It's what can we keep doing that's going to raise that bar and keep the culture elevating when it's so high. So it was definitely a difficult task for our staff to do, but also when everything's kind of already in place, you just take it over and try to keep it moving forward, and hopefully that's what we've done. It's a fight every year. It's a fight every year at a place like Calhoun to make sure that we're still on the up and up, even though the wins and losses kind of fluctuate. We got to make sure we keep our program going the right way, and proud of our assistant coaches and our administration for assistant coaches for the hard work that we've put in, or they put in, and the administration for allowing us to do some things. So to answer your question, it's an evolving process that hopefully we're still working on.
So did you change the weight room? Did you change how they lift weights? Did you change the offense? I mean, what were some things like that you were like, or do you just keep it the way it's always been? Yeah, and that's the key. And after winning the state championship last year, that was the question you just asked. What do you do when you are on top? What do you do when you're there? And I read a good book last year about the New Zealand All Blacks, of the rugby team, that they said, when you're on top, what can you do to change it up and move forward? And that's, you're asking all the questions that I ask every day, pretty much. And it goes back to, you don't change what got you there. You don't change your offensive scheme, your defensive scheme, and your weight room. You try to just add stuff around your program and to your program that are going to enhance it. And that's what I feel like that we've done. Like I said earlier, you try to leave what's good alone, but also if you're just stagnant, you're not going to move forward. So there were some things that we tried to do early on to, like I said, keep us moving forward,
regardless of the X's and O's, regardless of the wins and losses, to enhance the program. Like I said, I feel like we've done that, but it's also it's something that all those questions you ask keep me up a bunch of nights.
Yeah, and I think it's a difference between our age group, our generation, the one before us, and the current one, is that you can't be afraid to fail. I mean, you can't be afraid to try something new. And if it doesn't work, well, it didn't work. I mean, you just sit there and go, all right, guys, we tried this. Well, that obviously didn't work out real good. So we ain't going to do that no more. Let's try something else. And you can't be scared. You know, scared money don't make money.
Exactly right.
And you can't, I mean, you just can't, you know. So let's talk about the state championship. So you've been part of it as an assistant, several of them.
Yeah.
But to win one as a head coach, was it like a monkey off your back, or was it just like, well, that's kind of what we do around here, so I really shouldn't be shocked?
Yeah, you know, it was.
I mean, that's the expectation, but I mean, at some point in time, you had to be like, okay, they can't say I couldn't win one.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
It's really, you know, even though, you know, each year builds on each other, every year is a different, you know, this as much as you've been in, every year is a different group and a different team. But the program is always going to be at that level. Right. So to get an individual team to the bar that has been set in your program by other individual teams was dang special. You know, that was the fun part of that group of you know, that senior group had played for the state championship in 2021. Got beat by Warner Robins. Fast forward to their senior year, made it back to the state championship and were able to win it. So to get an individual team to that bar that's been set by all the coaches and players and parents and administrators before was pretty doggone special. I'm not gonna lie. You know,
how good did you think y'all were going to be that year?
I thought we'd be good until you're not. We started out 1-3 that year and played some really, really good non-region teams, which is what we try to do to kind of give us a bar of where we need to be. And
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Victory Lane? Yeah, it's even better with Chumba by my side. Race to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
Going back to one of your other questions, that was something that changed as we went from 3A to 5A that second year that we were that second year that I was a head coach, and that changes things a whole lot. But we're able to kind of navigate through that, didn't use it as a crutch, and I feel like made the program a whole lot better getting through that. But that team aspect of it that adds to the program's standard and expectations was pretty awesome, and it's something when I think about those guys and what they went through to ultimately to win the state championship is pretty special. But at the end of the day, a couple weeks after the state championship, you know, it's everybody's on an equal playing field. And I heard the coach from the Bears talk about the other day that, and then obviously they got beat in the playoffs, but they were saying, how can you build on this for the next year? And he's like, it starts at ground zero. And if you think it doesn't, then you're way off the mark. So kind of the same way we felt when you win it or lose it, when you win your last game or lose your last game, everybody's a zero. And that was kind of the reality of winning the state championship. Is nice, and it's awesome for those kids that were on that team. But starting January 1st that next year, we got to do the same thing again, and it takes just as much work to to do it again or try to get back there again. So it was definitely satisfying and definitely, I don't want to say a monkey off your back, but it was awesome for those kids and those coaches who had never experienced that. And I'm lucky enough and blessed enough to have gotten to experience it, several times now. But for those kids and that team, it was pretty special.
Well, from playing golf a lot, that you hang out with people that have no idea what our universe is like. Like they're regular people. Like they're normal. They have normal jobs. I had a guy this past weekend. He couldn't believe that we work 8 hours a week, and I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, and work on Sundays. Like that just blew him. Like it was like, you're kidding me? And I say that to say this. One of the things I share with them is, if you want to know what it's like, if you've seen the movie Friday Night Lights, at the very end when Billy Bob Thornton's character is sitting there, and you remember he takes all the name plates off the board and throws them on the floor or on the desk, and he's putting the next one up there. To me, that encapsulates that's exactly what you're saying. I mean, that is our life. And I know everything these days. People have all these cliches, and they like all these words they're going to have on shirts, and they're going to, we're grit, and then acronyms and all sorts of stuff. But I do like this one where people have started naming the team by the season. Like this is the 123rd, this is Calhoun football 123, team 123.
Yeah, I thought about that. That's pretty cool.
I actually like that.
Yeah.
And I know people probably think that that's coming from me. That's odd. But I actually like that because they are a totally different group. And it's like, you tell the kids, once you make the playoffs, hey guys, that you'll never take the field with this senior class ever again. You'll never play with them again. Maybe if you don't win. Yeah. And then, every week you're telling them that, well, that makes the team completely different because you're going to have freshmen coming in and those seniors going out. So that group of kids are never going to be back together again unless it's at a reunion. And it's just hard to get the normal, average, everyday person to understand. So I tell them, I'm like, hey, the best way I can explain it to you is like Friday Night Lights when they take them names off the board, man. It starts over every year.
Yeah, and then you're exactly right of what I was just talking about of that individual team. They get to doggone put their name up there with all the Calhoun greats teams over the years. The program is going obviously is a great program. It's going to stay rising, but each individual team is so different, and that's what makes sports so awesome. We talk about all the time of each team you're guaranteed 10 games. That's it. You work and work and work, and I think that Dabo podcast list, you only play 3% of the time that you actually put into football, and each game, if you're not appreciating what you have and enjoying, like you said, that time with each other, you're missing out, and that's something that we try to preach all the time, and we can definitely preach it more. And that's why I feel like football is the ultimate team game, because you get 10. In basketball, you lose on a Tuesday, you play on a Friday, and you probably play on a Saturday. In baseball, you play a doubleheader, and you get. In football, it's so special to me personally because you lose a game and you have to sit there and deal with it for 7 days until you get to do it again. That's what separates football to me from any other sport, and I love all of it. I'm a sports junkie, but football and coaching football is an ultimate blessing and something that I'm hoping that we're as a staff and as a just coaching as a whole in the state of Georgia and everywhere that we're doing what we're supposed to do to make sure that those kids understand that, and that it's kind of going back to what you said about the state championship. It's way more than the winning and losing, way more than that. obviously winning's great, losing's not great. But at the end of the day, if you're building that chemistry and building that team bonding and building kids that you've been doing a long time, of those guys that would have never made it without playing football. Coaches, we have a huge role in that, and it's something that hopefully we're not taking lightly. I always tell the story of my dad coached a guy at Upson. He was his quarterback. Went on to Kuwait, Desert Storm, and I think he did 3 or 4 tours, and he wrote on my dad's Facebook not too while ago, just talking about the lessons he learned playing football, and the relationships that he had, and he went on to, like I said, was way more in his life than me and you could ever do doing that. He basically said in his Facebook post, Daddy, that it all came back to the lessons he learned in high school football. So if we're not doing that as coaches, we're missing the boat. And I say that from yes, we've won the state championship, but it doesn't matter. All across the board, whether you're 0-10 or 10-0, you're making a difference. So hopefully coaches understand that, and that's still the lesson that we're trying to teach those kids.
Well, let's change gears a little bit and go into like nuts and bolts of what you do and how you do. So I'm sure, or maybe not, but I would imagine that when you first took over as the head coach, you approached spring practice one way and you tweaked it and tried some different things, and now you've approached a different area of your career and your program that you do spring a little bit differently. How do you guys approach spring practice, or do you even have spring practice?
Spring is very tough for us. I know it's a lot for a lot of people, but for us, we share as many athletes as we can. Like, I push those guys to do other sports, and I know some coaches might say they do that, but also in the background they're trying to talk them out of playing stuff. But we want them playing as much as possible. So when we've got baseball players out there, and we've got a huge track team with football players, it's very tough, because if you just look at a calendar, we don't like doing spring practice, just to get into the nuts and bolts of it. Like I said, we don't like doing spring practice too late to where it gets into finals and graduation time and all that kind of stuff. So we try to do it a little earlier. Well, you do it earlier, and if your baseball team wins a round or two, you don't have those guys, and your track team, they got sectionals and they got the state track. So if you got guys that are qualifying for that, they're there sometimes and not sometimes. So it's and then we share a lot of coaches as well. So we've got coaches that are coaching, and then we've got soccer as well, and golf and tennis. So we got soccer, golf, tennis, track, baseball, all sharing coaches. So it's a very difficult time as a head coach trying to organize all that of crap. I don't know who's going to be at practice and not for spring practice. I personally wish GHSA would say no spring practice. You can start in the summer and do whatever. But because if you've been at a place for a long time, it's not as important. And I know a lot of coaches will cringe at that, but spring practice is not as important if you've got the same system that's going to be in place the next year. Now, if you go somewhere new and you're a new staff, spring practice is crucial. But for us, we try to just get through the 9 days, and we don't do a game. We just do a showcase, which is like an open practice. We're inviting parents and the cheerleaders and all that kind of stuff. But we try to get through it, and it's really good for linemen. I do think it's that. But for our CO guys, we're without a lot of them for a lot of the time. So it's definitely a stressful time for a head coach trying to organize it with coaches and players. And we do a lot of stuff in the morning. So a lot of those guys can come to practice and at least be with their position group, even if they've got, a baseball game or a track meet that afternoon. So it's a tough time. We're not, I don't say ever, but I don't see us ever getting into the spring game world. We're struggling to figure out a depth chart for 9 practices. I can't imagine trying to kind of game plan for another team. So we just kind of keep everything in house and do a showcase at the end where we invite the parents and that kind of thing. So, and it's also a good time for the recruiting, because there's a lot of coaches that come in that get to watch spring practice. Because I know a lot of guys are going away from spring practice and doing 2 scrimmages. And I see some benefit of that as well. But that's the way we do it, and I feel like we've kind of we don't put too much stock into it. The kids love it. Now they love getting out there and practicing, but also this is going to sound awful to a lot of coaches, but what you're doing on April the 29th, is that helping you win game 15 on December the 17th? I don't know. That's a good question. What do you feel?
Well, I'm glad you actually said that, because I don't think I hate spring. Yeah. And the older I get, the more I hate it, because I understand what it is. I mean, you got 10 days. Well, crap, it's going to take you a day to pass stuff out. Mm-hmm. It's going to take you another day to take stuff up. That leaves you 8 days. And you got to play a scrimmage game. And you don't know who's going to be there with track. I'm like you. It wouldn't hurt my feelings at all if they just said, you know what, there is no spring football. And, you can still take them out there and run agilities and do 4-on-1s, whatever. I mean, if you're new, you can figure it out. Yeah. And then once the summer gets here, get after it. You got 2 scrimmages. Because to me, I'm with you. You're not going to say it, I'll say it. Heck no, it ain't doing anything. April, because you're not going to have the same humans 4 months later. They may be the same child, but they're not going to be the same human. No. They're not going to be the same player. They're not going to have the same body. They're not going to have the same mind, because they've been through summer and they've been through the scrimmages. So that's just my take on it. But
in X and O wise, I feel like we do more experiment in the spring of stuff that we ain't never gonna do in the fall. But we've been to all these clinics and we've talked with other coaches, and and then we get a few days into it, and whether it's our players aren't out there, so we don't really get a good glimpse of what it's going to be, or we just don't like it, and then we're back to the same stuff we do when we get in the summer. So I don't know. Like I said, it is beneficial for new staffs and people that are trying to install stuff, but when you're keeping the same thing, then it's the other side of it is it's 95 degrees, and we're like, we don't have a game until August the whatever, and we're out here. So it is tough, but like I said, the kids enjoy it, so we try to make it.
Hey, it's Cole Swindell. After I give everything I've got to land a perfect vocal, I usually take 5 before jumping into the next track. And I've learned exactly how to recharge in that time. Some folks grab coffee. I hit a quick good luck spin. Next thing you know, the break is just as fun as laying down the track. A better break makes for a better take. Need a break? Let's chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus TNC Supply. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
I don't want to say fun, but we try to make it where it's energetic and they get after it for a little burst of time, but don't put too much stock into what we're truly getting out of it.
So what do you like to do in the summers? Are you a big OTA guy, or do y'all just try to stay in-house?
No, we're not, and that's something that I've kept over from Coach Lamb. We've obviously had to amp it up a little bit, but we don't do any of the OTAs. We do very limited 7-on-7s, and like we don't do any competition 7-on-7s. We get together with some coaches that I know and trust, and flow with them. Whether you call it 7-on-7, it used to be just called let's just throw together, and so we don't do any of the competition stuff. We did that a while back. I'll never forget. It was, I think, maybe the last one coach that we did. was in 2010, maybe 9, but anyway, 2010, went to Georgia for, one of the competition 7-on-7s. We got our brains beat in. Then we played for a state championship, and the team that beat us, to put us out of the tournament or whatever, was 1-9. So it's like, what are we? It goes back to that same sentiment I said earlier of you get 10 football games. I don't want to water that down with crap 7-on-7 stuff where you play and you get a round robin. And if you've got a Calhoun jersey on and you lose a game or you lose a competition, I want that to stick with you for a long time. Not, we got another week. We can play them again in the finals, or we can get this. That's not football, in my opinion. And I know there's positive to it, and that's there are few coaches that share our outlook on it, but that's kind of how we do it. We use summer for working on us. Strength and conditioning is a huge program. We go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We still go 3 days a week. That's another unpopular opinion these days. We've had to add a little bit more football stuff on Tuesdays, just because when you look at the calendar, when we go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, it's only 18. That's only 18 workouts that we get. So Tuesdays are power clean day during the summer, and we do some football stuff after that that we've added in the last couple of years, because I feel like we were a little bit behind when we started, just because the calendars, you start practice so soon and you play so soon. So we've had to add a little bit, but we try to let our players do other sports in the summer, let our coaches do other stuff in the summer, and just work on ourselves and strength and conditioning, and then acclimation period, and get after it, and hopefully don't stop until about Christmas time.
Well, it's done snuck up on you, but you're an old head now. So what are some things over 23 years that you've noticed about the game that's changed, good, bad, or indifferent, that's so much different from when you first started as a wide receiver coach teaching special ed at Calhoun?
Yeah, number one, well, there's several things. I feel like what stands out the most, and this is just I don't know if what's wrong with sports or what's wrong with youth and high school sports. I don't know if wrong is the right word, but what's different is the comparison aspect from your players and your parents and your community. I feel like it used to be, what are you doing for me? What are you doing for me right now? Because you didn't have that comparison of looking on Twitter and seeing what Dodge County's doing.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses.
Yes, you knew what your coach and your school was doing, and what are you doing for me? And then I kind of feel like it shifted to, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? And now I feel like it's you can do ABC as a program, and there's always going to be people, parents, players, community members, whatever, fans, looking at what Peach County's doing, and why can't we do that? And so now it's, what else can you do for me? So it's not the appreciation of what each program and what each coach is pouring into you, because coaches all over the state are doing awesome things at their place, and not all of them, but most of them. And it's not good enough. It's never good enough, and it kind of goes into it filters in. And for the longest time, it wasn't football. Always was baseball and other basketball that kind of got into the travel world. And I feel like it's filtering into football to kind of segue into another thing I think's changed or wrong, that now it's how much can we travel and how much can we expand youth football And that's something I totally, like I said, that's something I don't agree with at all, because, football is it's not a skill sport. Baseball, basketball, tennis, golf, all those are the more you can work on that skill. But football is flipping, work hard, get to 7th grade, keep working hard till you're a senior. You're going to be a football player. I don't care what you did when you were 10 or 11, what kind of competition you played, where you went to go play, these teams. But parents don't, you say old head, they do not want the opinion of, we've got Coach Lamb, obviously, is still AD. Coach Perkins is our athletic director. He was the head coach at Rome for a long time. I'm like, if you can't believe those guys, or you don't trust what they're doing, and I'm not just saying Calhoun specifically, but just as across the board, it just keeps filtering down. And I know that it's going to do more damage to high school football than it will good, because kids, they want to play football, play basketball, play baseball, go throw rocks in the creek behind your house, go jump in the pool, go ride the bike. Well, there's not time to do that crap anymore, because they're always going somewhere and always driving across the state to play a team and we're a 3A school, and we're, as 10-year-olds, we're going across the state to play teams that we're never going to play in high school. So that's a soapbox that I could get onto for a long time. But I feel like, to go back to your question, social media there are great things about it. There are great things. You can put a lot of stuff out there that's great, but also it's that comparison thing is tough, because it's always, like you said, keeping up with the Joneses. What's Dodge County doing? What's Rome doing? What's Valdosta doing? Rather than, Coach, I appreciate everything you're doing for my boys. Those conversations, you've been a part of those a lot of times. They don't happen quite as much anymore, and that's something just kind of outside of the X's and O's about football that has changed, that I don't know how we're getting back to it.
Well, and the way recruiting high school athletes changed now too, I don't know how y'all deal with it as head coaches, because you cannot get a normal human to understand the trickle-down economics behind the NIL landscape, and they're not interested in developing high school kids at the Power 4 level, D1 level anymore. No. And unless you are just an absolute creature, you're not. What you thought you were, you're probably at least one level below that now. Oh, yeah. And you can't get the average everyday person to understand that, and the headaches it causes. You're not getting my kid recruited. Now, wait a minute, I control whether they play here. I have no control whether they play somewhere else.
Exactly.
I mean, we'll put them out there. We'll talk to them. But, I keep seeing these kids, and I know it's because of pressure. They keep putting stuff on Twitter and, hey, come look at our this, X, Y, Z, and whatever. And I'm like, look, man, you just look at the person and go, is your child 6'4" and weighs 240 pounds and can run a 4.7 40? No. Okay, well, maybe we need to dial it back a little bit. And what was wrong with them being a good little high school football player?
Yeah. And then from the college side of it, we had a coach from a fairly local school that's great school, not big time, but great school. That we got a kid that 100% could play for them. I've looked at what they got. He could play for them. Kind of been in communication. Well, about a week ago during the portal, Coach finally said, we'll contact you after the portal. But basically blew us off. and hadn't contacted us yet. So it's like and I don't blame those guys. That's the world they live in. They have to go for a 23-year-old transfer as opposed to a 17 or 18-year-old kid coming in. They don't know what they're doing. But and then and I don't know the exact number, but the number of guys that got in the portal this year that are still in there that didn't get anything, where does that leave high school guys? It's frustrating for sure, but it kind of all goes back to the same thing of it's all a comparison tool. And even in the college world, it's what they can give me as opposed to what you can give me. And there's no, I think I read an article the other day that said that, and I kind of agree with it. They were like, basically, I've enjoyed watching the NFL playoffs this year more than I have the college. And that's, a long time ago, there was nothing like New Year's Day bowl games. Then when they expanded a little bit, nothing like the BCS or whatever it was. And now it's getting to where these guys are on their third and fourth school. And I don't know, but nobody wants our opinion, Coach. I promise you that. But I'll give it anyway.
That's the way I feel about most everything, actually.
Yeah,
to be honest, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I don't really care if anybody likes it or not.
That's right.
But let's end on a positive, and if you're giving advice to a young man right now that is thinking about going into education and thinking about being a coach, what would you tell them?
Yeah, do it for the right reasons. If you're doing it to jump up the thing and be a head coach, that's probably not the right reasons. At the end of the day, it's got to be about the kids. As much as we love football and as much as we love drawing up plays and scheming and this, it ain't about that. It's about those kids that you're going to be in charge of, both in the classroom and on the football field. And those are two different areas, to make sure that you're doing it for the kids and make sure that you're where you are right now. Everybody says, be where your feet are, and and that is the ultimate advice, I feel like, because I actually had a conversation the other day with one of our young coaches, not a football coach, but another one who was complaining about what he feels like they should be doing in his sport. And I said, Coach, that's backwards, man. This is your first year here. You got to make sure that you're doing whatever that head coach tells you to do. In the off season, if you want to meet with him and share your ideas, that's one thing. But in season, all going to do what you're supposed to do and make sure that you're taking care of the kids first, because at the end of the day, win, lose, or draw, the best part about coaching, the best part is seeing those guys successful one day in your town or another town when and we've gotten to the point where we've got kids who we coached have kids in our program, and seeing that's what coaching is about, man. It's not about the wins and losses. It's great, but make sure they're doing it for the right reasons and trying to build those relationships, because that's what coaching's about.
Well, Coach, I sure do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. You continue to do things for the right reasons and for the kids, and it's just a testament to how you were raised and being a coach's kid and passing that on to the next group, and I sure do appreciate it.
Coach, thank you, and we gotta book us around the golf here pretty soon when it gets warm. When the grass gets green, we're gonna play sometime.
Sounds good, Coach.
All right, have a good one.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply. When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.